Okay, guys. Our last speaker for the afternoon, before Ambassador Yong gives his closing, is November Tan, who is an environmental activist using the kind of communications tools that Sean was telling us about. Well, the second half, in getting her message out in Singapore. And I think it's one of the highlights, the environmental movement is one of the high watermarks of activism in the sense that it has permeated popular culture and discourse and is very much a part of our ordinary lives. A little story I have is how a group of us are planning a vigil for Aung San Suu Kyi tomorrow at the Speaker's Corner. And we were planning to release some balloons into the air. And one of our activists pointed out that balloons are not biodegradable. So we have compromised by making it a very long string, and we will pull back the balloons and dispose of them properly. So to tell us a bit about how that message is being communicated in Singapore and how the environmental cause is being popularized, November Tan, a research student at NUS, who is also running workshops on communications.
Yep, hi. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I know sometimes we come across as being the obsessive compulsive friend that you have that tells you not to, litter and to ask you to recycle your things. And we don't do as exciting kind of activism as Sean. I mean, I listen to it and I'm like, oh, yeah, too bad it's kind of boring here. And but I must say that, I really wanted to speak out on his behalf just now because we actually do a lot of similar things and we just call it different names here, but actually it's the same thing. Like for example, he said hijack Wikipedia page and he saw me nodding because actually that's what we do too. I mean, sorry? Yeah, have anybody here ever written a Wikipedia entry or edited anything? Yeah, I mean, there's a few of us. Okay, I have. Okay, my personal pet area is Pulau Ubin, for example. I mean, Pulau Ubin, who knows about Pulau Ubin, right? And if you go Wikipedia, you might get some like STB sort of, Singapore Tourism Board sort of entry. And here I am writing about the stories and history, and of course I want to get my point of view in. Of course I will edit the Wikipedia page, and Sean is just more fun. He calls it hijacking, but we try not to get say things like that where we need Kevin to bail us out or something. A lot of yeah. Okay. Originally my talk was sort of came from this thing I presented at the National Sustainability Conference, which was more about Facebook, and I had to adapt it to be more about blogs. But I really think that it should be a combination of things. Nowadays, blogs, is just one of the many mediums that we should be using. And previously, my talk was 15 minutes, and now I get a long time with you guys. So let's see how that goes. Blogging really shouldn't stop there. And if you already have a blog, what is your blog about? Is it just your personal blog, or what is your cause? Maybe I should tell you more about my cause. On my blog, I'm called the Leaf Monkey, so that's my logo. I drew it myself. Nothing fun like Alex's, little boy, but I had fun drawing my own representation of myself. I would like people to think that I'm this, nature activist. I'm out there all the time. That's what you think an environmentalist should be, right? But most of the time, I'm actually in front of the computer. I was trying to Twitter today and report what's happening here, how to overthrow the government. Not really, but that kind of failed because, when you don't have internet, it's kind of hard. Yeah, but most of the time my friends think of me as the monkey and not to feed me, so I had a snack before I came. So this is my blog. I'm sure most of you will never have read it before. And it's not because I'm not the #1 blog in Singapore, but because there's a lot of environmental blogs in Singapore that probably most of you might not have heard before. Who has heard of Wow Singapore? Less than 5% of people here. Wow Singapore is actually one of the biggest nature news aggregator in Singapore. Is linked by Singapore Tourism Board, is linked by Ministry of National Development's Centre for Livable Cities. The government is linking this blogger, because it provides news which it infringes copyright to archive on, which is why I asked about the archiving thing earlier, for education purpose, of course. But there's a lot of people who is working on, things. Actually, I find ironical that I got the attention of Blogger because I started a project where I started doing this daily green actions. I talk about what people can do every day, and then I translated it to my blog. I linked the two things, and I ended up being listed as this blog of note, which is the blogger staff actually recommends you. And I actually end up having more global visitors than my own Singaporeans, which is the real target of my group. So when somebody asked me, are you happy that you're getting so many views? I was actually quite happy because none of these were Singaporeans. And my blog was for Singaporeans, it's about Singapore, for Singaporeans. So how do we, reach out to Singaporeans, right? But before I do that, I thought this was going to be a cozier sort of workshop. So I was going to try to engage you guys. And I know you've been listening to all these speakers all day. Thought it's time for you guys to speak up instead. So, just throw up some kind of ideas, like what is your cause, on your blog, if you have a cause? Anything? No? So all of you, well, I'm not a political blogger, so if politics is your cause, no? I mean, I would expect the TOC people to say politics or socio-political commentary. Anything? No. Huh?
Campus news.
Campus news, okay, so your course is about campus, but what aspect of campus? Everything?
Yeah, like PI, censorship.
Right, so student welfare.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a cause, student welfare, right? Okay, anything else? Yeah.
We'd like to start a blog to get migrant workers off the lorries.
Okay. So migrant workers is your cause. Okay, that's great. Anything else? I mean, I want to hear some diversity because I only know there's one maybe animal welfare person here who is kind of similar to what I do, and I already know her. Anything? Any other? No? So why?
Ordinary Singaporeans.
For ordinary, but what about ordinary Singaporeans?
We tell stories that no one else hears.
Okay, so general welfare of Singaporeans or how their lives are like. Maybe? Okay, never mind. I mean, one of my other causes is actually heritage. I also talk about heritage issues in Singapore, things that gets unseen, unheard, I don't know. So that was kind of half-hearted. You guys, end of the day, tired. I didn't really hear many voices. Okay. I thought that's the whole point. You're here to, learn to empower yourself to get your voices heard. Oh, sorry.
Well, then I was just wondering about us networking or linking now, because earlier on Sean was talking about it. So you mentioned animal welfare, and Isabel was talking about migrant workers, but specifically the transportation of them, getting them off the lorries and into buses, because we know very recently, less than 2 weeks ago, 4 workers were killed. So this is just a thought I'm having, animal welfare also covers the transportation of animals. And people have been also, for example, hens being transported in battery cages, and people talk about that. And then also the transportation of migrant workers.
Right.
It's a huge, it's a huge thing, and we could also compare the two issues of people being dehumanized and animals being treated as subspecies. So
sure.
yeah. So anyway, I was just wondering if